Okay, hello again everyone. Now it's time to do the colour portion of the Captain America. So I'm gonna just get stuck in and we will hopefully come up with a nice finished piece. Right, so I'm going to start by laying in his skin tones. So I've got these markers here. Don't know if it's picking that up. It's from a place called Stationery Island, which is a company in the UK, who have been doing a lot of markers recently. They've just come up with a range of markers that I think they're pretty good. I mean, they're not super expensive. Obviously, they're not something like Copics where you can refill them and that sort of thing. But you know, they're pretty decent. They've got a good range of colours. This is a set of skin tones, so you can do all sorts of like skin tones and ethnicities and stuff like that, which is really handy. It's all in one sort of set of 48 pens, so it's not too bad at all. Actually, you know, when it comes to pens and them being refillable or not, every pen is technically refillable. Well, not refillable as such. If you've got let me show you. Look, there's a Winsor and Newton, and as you can see, it's got a little bit of red tape around it. That means what's happened is the marker's gone dry. So it doesn't exactly run out of ink as such. It basically runs out of alcohol. So if you can get some rubbing alcohol and put it in, take an eyedropper, drop in about, I don't know, between sort of 10 and 20 drops is what I use. And it kind of reactivates the pen, not for a extremely long while, but for enough of a time that you can get some more colour out of it. Sometimes it will lighten it up, but that's not too bad of a thing either, because, you know, quite often you'll get pens that don't feel quite light enough, or you could do a slightly lighter colour. So if you're diluting the ink down a little bit with some rubbing alcohol, that's not too bad of a thing. So yeah, it's one of those things where you know, it's not a complete solution, but it will certainly get you a couple of extra miles, so to speak. Right, so I start with some darker skin tones, as you can see. And yeah, I know I'm using the chisel tip. I like using the chisel tip. You can actually get a pretty good degree of control with a chisel tip. And it's not, I mean, you can get quite thin, you know, you can get thin lines out of it, fat lines out of it, and basically it puts down colour, I find, a bit more evenly than if you're just doing it with either a brush tip or a what's it called, bullet nib. It works for me, so you know, I can't complain. So there you go. Okay, that's that. A little bit more. Let's go with that one. There we go. Touch lighter there. And as you can see, it kind of blends as it goes. If you work dark to light, it tends to blend a lot better. Don't know why that is. It just is. As, I've got no wonderful insights for you. Excuse me. Right, so I'm going to start moving into some Winsor & Newton Pro markers. This one's the blush, which is my brightest skin tone here. I'll start using some of their range in here, and I find it gives you a nice set of skin tones onto a soft peach, which kind of blends out some of those lines you've got there with the darker colour. And you should be able to see it's pretty much blending out. Actually, it looks a lot more blended to my eye than it does on camera. I think the camera might be a little harsh for this sort of thing. There's the dog again. There we go. Okay. Next up we move on to coral, which will give a bit darker again, as you can see. And as it goes, it is blending in. Let's bring that up to the camera. You can, it's sort of, oh, there we go. Focus. Yeah. It blends as it goes. So, you know, all you have to really do is just work them in. They pretty much take care of themselves, alcohol markers, which I quite like. It's always been something I've enjoyed about using them. Okay, I'm going to go quiet for a little bit and concentrate, so enjoy, and I will start chatting again in a minute, because you know, it's much better when someone's narrating than when they're not. Okay. Excuse me. I haven't got the COVID, don't worry. I tested. I'm all good. Okay, that'll do for that. I do need to put in some slightly darker blending shadows again, so I'm going to go back to my original tone and sort of round out some of these shapes. It does give you a much more blended feel to things. And again, working in lighter, it does help. So back to my soft peach, which will, you can see it happening as it's going. It blends out a lot of those tones, and does gives a lot more of a sort of natural, rounded appearance. Because let's face it, none of us have got bars of shadow running across any of us. Okay, that'll do for that just now. Oh, dropping all my pens, there we go. I do like to put in some pinks. Now this and another little trick I will show you later. I kind of picked this up from watching Todd Nork. I picked it up from watching his YouTube channel. It just it bolsters up those skin tones and just gives it a sense of like, well, skin really. I can't really explain it any better than that, but you sort of put some through here, and it it blends in and gives you a good kind of tone and feel on it. Hopefully the camera's picking that up. Would be nice. Right, so we'll leave that there. There's another little trick for shadows, again, that I picked up from Todd Nork, which I shall do later on. If you get a chance, go and look at his channel, because there's a whole lot of stuff there that's really informative if you're trying to learn marker colouring. Okay, so let's move on to the blue part. I'll start with... Right. This is a Winsor & Newton Azure, only it's not. It's one of my watered down ones. And as you can see, it's got a really nice... it's turned into a really nice blue from what originally was a very thick, deep blue. I'll show you again in a bit, because I'll come in with one of the same colour that I haven't diluted down with rubbing alcohol. Hopefully also you can hear me. I'm not exactly... I don't have the loudest of voices to begin with, so it's just one of those things, unfortunately, that I'm quite softly spoken. Right, so bear with me, we'll get this filled in. It's quite odd doing this with a camera. It's right in my face here, so I'm sort of having to lean around it to do what I'm doing. Here we go. So this has made it much more of a kind of pastel blue. Actually, it's running out a little bit. It needs a little top up of alcohol, I think. It's alright though, because I'm going over this again in a minute anyway with a different colour. Oh, it does look patchy on the camera. It doesn't look patchy on the board as I'm doing it. It looks very patchy on the camera. I think it's the light. Right, so let's come in with an actual untampered with Azure, and you'll see that it is a very much deeper blue as it's going on. See that? Much nicer. Okay. Leave a bit of a highlight on his cheek there, I think. I'll blend that out in a bit. A highlight running down his nose, and from about there, I think that works. There's another thing you have to worry about when you're doing stuff like this, is where to place the highlights and where to place the shadows. As I said in the video where I inked this, I do usually do that kind of permanent shadow on Cap's forehead around the eye. I just felt like not doing it this time, and rendering it all out with colour and having the light coming from here makes for a much more interesting look. I think I've gone over the line a little bit there. So I'm going to colour a lot of this in blue. I might leave a little highlight there. That looks good. And we'll come in here. then come in with a darker colour later on and give it a bit of shadow around the wing or the feather or whatever that is. Never quite been able to figure out whether it's a feather or a wing or some such. I don't know. Okay. Round we go there. And then cut that in there. Over his clavicle, down his throat. Leave a little sliver of highlight on that side. Okay, and it's starting to look a little bit more like Cap. I do need to do his eyes. So I've got his eyes. So do forgive me if I go quiet at points. Trying to concentrate. It's not the easiest. I'm not used to talking and working at the same time. A bit darker there. In through there. A little bit round his nose. And across his brow. Come in like that. Back. I'd sing you a song, but I get flagged for copyrights. Never mind, eh? Ideally, when I do start, I found out why I couldn't go live earlier on. It's because you need 50 subscribers to be able to go live from a mobile. So do like and subscribe if you like what you see, because it will help me to do these live rather than pre-recording, which completely uses up the storage on my phone. Let me think, what can I put down to make that a bit darker? A brilliant blue. Where's that gone? Well, maybe that one. What's this one? How's that going to look? Oh, there we go, that'll work. Slightly deeper blue. That works for me. Around his eyes, over his brow, down his nose. Down there, like that. I find that the simpler you can keep the colours, and the better the end result you're going to get. It's I spent a lot of time doing marker colours and just basically over rendering everything. Too many shadows and too many attempts at blending in, and it just didn't look very good in the end result. So if you keep it fairly simple like this, then I mean you can see it's not overly done. There is shadows, there is depth to it, you know, you've got light to dark, and it works. So cap's pretty much basically done. All I need to do now is come in with some greys. So I'm going to come in with a couple of cool greys, and this is where that trick I was telling you about comes into play. Again, I didn't come up with this on my own. I saw it on Todd Nork's YouTube channel. Again, go and give him a look and go and give him a like and a subscribe, because he does some great stuff. He does some really good colour videos, inking videos. While they're not tutorials as such, they really do give you a lot of information. So basically what he does is he takes a cool grey and he goes into the skin tones. Well, he goes into pretty much everything really. So I've kind of adopted that into my own stuff, and it really does make a difference, because it does give a realistic shadow and tone to things as you work it in. It makes all the skin tones look a bit more realistic, and it also can make things like costume details look more realistic. Might be a little too light to be effective on here. I can come in with another grey tone as well to kind of separate some more shadow areas out. As you can see, it does make a difference, it really does. So, you know, like under here, shadow that out a bit more. Shadow out this other, is that the trap? I don't know any of the names. I have failed as an artist. I don't know any of the names. So I'll leave that there like that. Oh, do need to just blend that out a little bit more. Just blend that out a little bit more so it looks a bit more of a natural highlight. That one there. Just soften those edges up, and it makes everything look a bit more naturalistic. Okay, so there we go. You see on his cheek that highlight now, you know, it doesn't look like it's a kind of harsh spotlight effect. It's more of a soft blend. Right, I'll do one there as well. Next up, I'm going to come in with a cool grey 4 and start putting in some slightly deeper shadows in the costume as well. Slightly deeper shadows here, and again it just helps sell that illusion that this is a three-dimensional character rather than a flat drawing. Oh no, that's the cool grey 2. Excuse me. Oh, come on, Tone, get it right. There we go. There we go. It's a slightly deeper grey tone, just to add some accents to things, darken it down a bit, give it a bit of depth where it needs it. I'm not going to put any through the skin, because I think that would be a little bit too dark, a bit of overkill. Switch to my thinner tip, pop a little bit of shadow in his eye. Actually, I might put a little bit in his ear just to sell that recess of the ear there, and perhaps a touch under his nose. And under his lip there, hollow of his cheek. Yeah, actually that does work a little bit better. Sometimes you don't need it, sometimes you can pop it in. There we go. Actually, yeah, that works a lot better. Right, so back to the costume details. Under his cheek, touch down at the back of his jaw, just there, a little bit into his neck. Into that, here's the trap, isn't it? As you can see, it reacts with the blue, but it doesn't overpower the blue. It just gives a nice little shadowed effect. And I'm going to come in again with the cool grey 2 in a minute and just blend that out just a touch. See, it doesn't need much. Really doesn't need much at all to give it that extra little bit of dimension, I suppose is the best word. So just sort of blend that on out a little bit, come in a little bit more with that, deepen that a bit more. And you have to excuse me, I think there might have been a little bit of a cut there. Something weird happened with my phone, I don't know what. But yeah, as you can see, those shadows are blending out, looking a bit more naturalistic. And that's pretty much it for Cap, I think, for his colour at least. And what I'm going to do a little bit of a kind of colour blend in the background, which I quite often do. Oh, I don't know if you can hear my cat there. Caramel's just come down for a little bit of food, so and then she'll be back off up to bed. Bit of a deeper blue through his eye. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much it for Cap. Maybe a slightly lighter blue in his eye there. There we go. So right, let's get a fade going. I'm going to do reds, I think. I feel that'll be a nice nice contrast with his blue. So let's start off with, these are Spectrum Noir pens. So I'm starting off with a DR3. I'm just gonna basically scribble. I want that to be solid around him to give a nice bold cut line. And again here, solid up to his outline. To about there, I think, and then we'll just start kind of randomly doing that. Let me think. Next up, let's go to a lipstick red. This is a Winsor & Newton lipstick red, brighter, as you can see. But as I go, a bit like what I did with the skin tones, dark to light, leave some gaps. I'll come in with some other red in a moment. I'll turn them upside down, makes it a bit easier to get in this side and not block it out. So you can see what I'm doing. Now this is a lipstick red that I have diluted. So it's a nice kind of soft, well, it's a pink basically. Whoops, went over his wing there, I'll get that in a minute. But again, you go over all this, it blends it out. Fades it in, blends it out. Gives Cap a nice background. I'm going with some, let's do a little bit higher up there. Okay, going with some slightly mid reds. What have I got? Let's try a CR10, see what that does. That's more kind of orangey. Orangey works. It kind of blends it all through into one kind of blended colour, which I suppose it would if I was blending. Oh dear, you can tell I haven't done many live streams, can't you? That's there. That looks good. And what have I got? Let me see. What can I put in? DR3. Let's try dark coral, see what that does. There we go. There's a kind of slightly deeper. Put that in sparingly, kind of scribble it. And then what I like to do is I like to get, I don't use these for anything other than this kind of stuff, like a colourless blender, and then just kind of go over it all. They're not really much use for anything else apart from doing this. If you try and blend them when you're doing like skin tones or costume details, you end up with a kind of wishy-washy nothing where you really wanted to have a smooth blend, and the markers will achieve that smooth blend on their own, so you don't really need it unless you're doing a kind of faded out effect, which I'm doing here. be careful to avoid going too mad over the areas where you've got your black ink, because that can be a recipe for disaster, as I have discovered to my cost several times over the years. So that's a pretty good fade there. I'm going to leave that as it is. I do need to clear that out. I could do it with a colourless blender, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take a very, very light grey from another set, and I'm going to blend it out. So here's a little tip and trick for you. If you make a mistake like that and go over something, you can blend it out with another pen. So this is a very, very light grey, and as I am colouring over it, you should see that that pink starts to basically vanish. See? Being replaced by that very, very light grey colour, which is barely visible as it is. And then I nearly did a Barry Scott for Sillet Bang then. Bang! And the pink is gone. There we go. Now that will lighten up to a much, much, much lighter grey as it goes. I've just basically saturated the the card. So that's basically all I've done there. Right, so ready for some white gel pen. So there's a Uniball Signo white gel pen, and I think what I'll do with this one is I'll do some kind of smoky cloud effect. So basically just draw through like that. You can go over the same lines a few times, although with smoke it's always a little bit better if you go kind of haphazard. As long as it's going in mostly the same direction, it's quite effective. So pull that in there. Be careful not to cut into those black lines. I'll also put a little few dots of I don't know, debris or something in there. But for now I'll go over to the other side. Another guest appearance by next door's dog you might be able to hear. We will ignore him and push on. Okay. Let's go back over to that side, bolster those up a little bit more. Push, push, put in some kind of flecks of flying debris or whatever you want to call it. Just some here and there dots. Back over to this side. Give Cap's eyes a little bit more life. We'll put in a dot of a highlight there, and then I like to go over the line of the blue, kind of cut that out a little bit with the pen. Makes it look like the eye is reflective and wet like an actual eye is. It gives it that kind of sheen and the actual appearance of like a tear, not tears. You know what I mean. The eye is not a dry thing; it's a wet, reflective surface. So it kind of gives it that appearance. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in with my pens from earlier. I'm going to put in some just little feathering marks here and there where I think they're needed, just to give a touch more depth and form. A couple of little bits in his lip there. Some little striations on his lip, I suppose they're called. Going to give it a little bit of a lining out there because I think that helps. Some feathering going there. All helps to sell the illusion that, you know, this is a three-dimensional, fully formed character. Let's get that there. Covered that earlier, so that's all good. Pop a little bit in there at the bottom of his chin. It's nice. Okay. And then the last thing I want to do is thicken up that black a little bit, because I don't know if you can see it, but it's kind of patchy, and it looks patchy. So if I get my Pentel pocket brush, go over it again, as you'll see as I'm doing it, it will thicken that black up, stop it looking so wishy-washy, give it a second coating, and really sell that shadow. There we go. Oh, gone over there, that's okay. Just thicken that shadow up. That does happen more often than artists will care to admit. They'll make one little whoops towards the end, always towards the end. It's never at the start, it's always towards the end. So that's blacked in there. So let's just pull that shadow out a little bit more, and up a little bit more there. Bob's your uncle, as they say. And there we go. And that, I believe, is the end. What I've got to do now is sign it with my customary, what people think is a symbol, but it's not, it's actually my initials. So you've got, there's the A, there's the L, there's the top of the D, which becomes the crossbar of the A, and there's the D. A lot of people just think it's like a glyph or a symbol, but no, it is my initials. So yes, there you have it. As take the phone off and give you a closer look, and there we have Captain America. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you'll come back for more. Do the old like and subscribe bit if that's your what you'd like to do. I'm also on Instagram at @adleeart, and I will hope to see you soon. Cheers.